All right. Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm just finishing up an intro pour here. Thanks for stopping by. John is still on vacation, which is good. Everybody should get to be on vacation. So I figured I'd take over again and we'll take some fun stuff. I was thinking about getting a guest, but then some fun boxes came in the mail, and I thought maybe it would be easier to go over some new bottles that have come, and we'd chat a little bit about oaky bourbon, and we'd kind of kick off and go from there. So, happy Tuesday! If you're just joining me now, feel free to let me know what you're drinking and if you know how your week has been and stuff. It's been kind of crazy here personally, but things have been good. Barrel stuff's been going well. I'm finishing up a pour. What do I have? I have 1792 bottled in bond, which I've been working on a little bit lately. That's pretty good. It hit here locally about 6 months later than I kind of would have expected it to. So I'm a bit behind that curve, but no problems there. It's pretty good. It's nice and bright. Some our bourbon news, I suppose. Things are going well. Things haven't changed too terribly much. We are going to bring on one more project, though. We're going to do a Penelope our bourbon blend. So if anyone's interested in helping to blend that, that should actually be a pretty big scream. I think the moderators will be out on that one besides myself. So if anyone is interested, you should shoot me a message because that should be a fun event with Michael Palladini, the owner, and Daniel, the other owner. We should be able to get that done, which is cool because we'll do a blend and then they'll bottle it at barrel proof. So New Riff is looking good. Russell's is looking good. Smooth Ambler is looking good. Knob Creek is looking good. And one or two surprises are looking good. So things in our bourbon land are going pretty swimmingly, which I'm pretty happy about. Let's see here. I get to be producer and runner, so we'll get back to how things are going. There we go. Hey, auditor. Oh yeah, the Copper and Kings pear brandy is interesting. I think you have the off-premise selection, which I also have, and I can't decide whether or not I like it or I hate it. Yeah, that's right. Your week has been crazy. Congrats on the house stuff. Assuming you're near the part where you get the house instead of all the bullshit between wanting the house and getting the house. Man, that's nice. Hey, Aaron, it's good to see you. B520, man, that is a great batch. I have B520 lined up here. I have the C919 that I thought was just stellar compared to some previous batches. So that's good to hear. That's a good bottle. I'm working through the end of this bottled in bond, which is a Barton. I'm not always a Barton guy, but I've been really enjoying it lately. It's like a banana toffee bomb in a way that's very different than Jack Daniels, which I think is kind of interesting. Yeah, not too bad. I'm sure it still has some time to open up, but pretty nice. I think it was like $30. Good choice on the our Scotch bottle too, auditor. For those of you that don't know, Ardmore is a peated Scotch from not Isla, so not a Freud, not a Lagavulin or Bunnahabhain. Really cool bottle, super fun, still available. We picked it for our Scotch last year, but yeah. So let's see. This week, bourbon news. Things have been pretty quiet bourbon news wise, but as many of you know, because I've been talking about it quite a bit, the alleged Craig Toasted Barrel is now out, at least in the sense that they are sending it to people who write about whiskey. Fair disclosure, if the FCC is listening or anybody else, Heaven Hill did send me a bottle. They reached out a couple months ago and asked if I'd like to try stuff. I said, sure. Then they forgot about me for a while, but Toasted Barrel showed up randomly. So I figured we'd drink it. A lot of you guys know I'm not the biggest oak boy. Some things are kind of oaky for me, like a Eagle Rare store pick that's like 10 or 12 or 13 years is kind of risky. So yeah, we'll see how I like it. I've been working on it pretty good, as you can see. I've only had it a couple days, but I've had 3 or 4 drams out of it. And we'll drink some more of it tonight. This is a Kentucky Straight bourbon whiskey that is then finished in a toasted barrel. So there's a lot of interesting discussion about whether this is incorrectly labeled or deceivingly labeled. Personally, I think it's totally fine. The question here comes because it says Kentucky Straight bourbon whiskey here, but then below it says toasted barrel. Perhaps they could be more clear that it is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey that goes into a toasted barrel. And as we all know, or if you don't know and you want to learn, when it leaves that, it can't be considered bourbon whiskey because it was not aged in a new charred oak vessel. So toasting is relatively new. It's been done a lot by Brown-Forman. We've seen toasted barrels for Woodford Reserve. We've seen them for Michter's, and you say, hey, Michter's doesn't belong to Brown-Forman, but we have a lot of suspicion that Brown-Forman's doing a lot of sourcing for Michter's. Brown-Forman's probably about to start sourcing for a lot of other people, if I had to guess, based on the early time sale and fun stuff like that. But that's all conjecture. Who knows? So why don't we get into it? Yeah. Yeah, that's a great bottle. I bet you're reeling from the house purchase, so I don't blame you for having to go cold turkey for a while. I have to do the same. We're in the market for a house ourselves here, but it'll be a few months. So let's see. Goodbye, 1792. We'll hold on to you. So we'll taste tonight. We will taste the Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. I've got some other fun stuff that might be similar. Along with it came a super cute, tiny little bottle of the OG Elijah Craig Small Batch Bourbon, which typically I'm a fan of. I actually didn't super love it when it was the 12-year age stated because I thought it was too oaky at too low of a proof. So this should be a really interesting comparison since this is the same proof as Elijah Craig. The bottles going on are kind of interesting. I like the idea of toasting. I think that experimenting is a really cool idea because in Scotch, like we've been talking about a little bit, you can finish in anything you want. You can mature in all sorts of stuff that isn't tequila, but that'll probably change. But in bourbon, you can only use a couple, you can use a certain mash bill as long as it's 51% corn, but your proof, your entry proof, your barrel all have to be exactly, they all have to meet some guidance there. There's a lot less freedom for just total innovation. So I think it's fun to see people doing bourbon with finishes, doing people, toasted barrel stuff. I think labeling needs to catch up probably. I think the TTB is probably not doing so hot with all this stuff, but this isn't a violation label, so I think it's fine. This isn't wild turkey shenanigans or some of the other stuff going on. Smells okay. My dishwasher's been funky lately, so I have to test these things out. But yeah, let's start a tasting. We got the toasted barrel here. Get a nice healthy pour. Toasted barrel. I got some other oaky stuff. So maybe this Jim Beam double oak. I've got a Woodford Reserve double oak, which is also a toasted barrel. So that should be fun to compare. Let's see. Yeah, so I think this is the 4th or 5th time I'm having this. I've definitely spent some good time with it. Plan to spend a lot more. You probably won't see a written review for kind of a while just because I like to be really thorough with those and know that I'm very much set on the tasting notes I have. But even opening up, this has been pretty crazy. The first pour was super hot. I wouldn't say it tasted like it was cast strength or barrel proof or something, but it had an astringency to it that kind of concerned me. So let's see how it opened up. Yum. So nice color, as I would hope for a double maturation. Let's see if this helps a little. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's got okay legs, not super thick, not super viscous, but healthy. The heat has died down quite a lot. This is drinking much closer to 94 to 100 proof. If I had this blind, I'd probably guess in the 95 to 100. Not too hot, but the first thing I noticed is that there's oak from start to finish. So as it kind of hits your palate, this reminds me of drinking like a really tannic Cabernet, and that you can tell when it hits your palate that it's going to be dry, it's going to be tannic, it's going to be really crisp. This has that same thing as it sits on the tongue. Lots of oak, lots of toffee. Not a lot of. I usually get like a nice caramel melon kind of fruity note from Heaven Hill. This is totally bludgeoned by the oak, and it's not too oaky, at least on the nose. On the palate, though, yeah, this is super oaky. I can feel it. It's completely dried the moisture off of my palate. It's kind of a thin mouthfeel. It's there, then it's gone, but the oak remains. Great point, auditor. I do like. I would totally agree with you. I did not like 1910. I almost went out and bought a bottle to compare, and I realized that probably wouldn't be fair since I already knew that I didn't like 1910. The double oak is good. I hadn't had it in years, and I hated it when I had it probably 5 years ago. But I liked it much more this time around. I have a cute little bottle of it because the big ones are expensive. I'm cheap. But this is super oaky on the palate. Not in a aspartame kind of minty gum way, nor is that weird aluminum note you get in like Maker's Mark 46. The Heritage barrel, I want to say that it was toasted. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%. I have not had it yet. I've been trying to track one down, and I haven't been having a lot of good luck with that. That said, I do really like Jack Daniels for the most part, outside of the number 7, which is totally garbage. The single barrel proofs are just, those are right on the money every single time. It's kind of crazy. So I would be curious to try Heritage, especially since I do believe it is toasted. That would be super fun to kind of compare and see. Wow. Yeah. So complexity on the nose. Lots of caramel, lots of raisin, lots of toffee, lots of oak, drying tannin. Yeah, almost kind of like an old sherry note, like an old bottling of something that's sherry, not the new hot grapey sherry. It's pretty enticing. The palate, I think, is the most interesting part. It's interesting because the palate is very one dimensional. I think that's gonna really hurt it for me. It's, you get a praline, toffee, and then it's gone, and it's just completely replaced by oak for my palate. So yeah, this is drying. If you like really oaky stuff, like if you wish that Woodford double oak was oakier, if you wish that Woodford double oak was oakier, if you had some like a couple of Blanton's picks I've had that have been super oaky combined with the mash bill, if you wish that those were oakier, this would definitely be for you. I think this is a bit too oaky for me. It has a really nice nose. The palate is thin. I think that I was expecting like at least like a very rich, syrupy mouthfeel to kind of play with the oak. Like George T. Stagg is a super oaky bourbon, but it has a rich, very luscious, caramely mouthfeel that kind of sits, and so it lends some credence there. But this is thin and oaky, so I think probably not a thumbs up. I don't think it's a thumbs down. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's not for me. So we'll give it a sideways thumb. We'll let some of it, we'll let it rest. I got a bit here, probably about an ounce or so. But I'm curious to try with some other oaky stuff. Yeah, Woodford double oak is super desserty. I get like I know I get it a lot in mezcal, but like a cream cheese frosting, like a really rich, pungent, sweet, like cream cheese frosting is really dense on your palate as opposed to, just something that's sweet. This is the, this one doesn't have a batch number, but yeah, a tiny guy. Nice and fun. We'll see how it compares. I'm going to keep a couple of these pours out so I can compare them at the end. I'm going to keep working through this barrel. I've been surprised how much the bottle's opened up even in just drinking a quarter of it. It is getting oakier, which kind of concerns me because it was super oaky at first. Now it's even oakier than it was. Let's see. Let's get this guy going. The color on this, you can see, is also pretty dark. Put it against my white face so you can see, since I'm kind of a white guy. But in comparison, quite a bit darker. It's not crazy different, but there is definitely some comparison of hues. This is the Woodford double oak. Let's pull you down. Let's see. Yeah, so this is Woodford double oak. I'll switch up the notes here, but this is about the same proof. This is a little bit cooler. This is 40. 45.2 as opposed to 47. So not a huge deal. I don't think it's going to be enough to be a difference. It might be noticeable. Blind, probably not. I don't think it's, if this was 120, 130 proof, that would totally lend itself to how things are going. But see, on the nose, it's interesting. The Woodford to me has a lot less oak. Like you don't know oak is coming until you get it on your palate, which is interesting because this one arguably would be even more oaky if I had to guess. Although it is probably younger, I'd guess the toasted barrel is probably 7 or 8 years, maybe 6. I don't think it's younger than 6. It's certainly not older than 10 if I had to guess. Now, one thing to note too, the Woodford, yeah, cocoa, lots of like prune, raisin, really desserty, really oaky, but not super tannic and drying. This guy, he has been open longer, so you can see that I have done some work with it. But this one drinks significantly hotter. If you told me that this was 50% ABV or 52, I would probably believe you. The Elijah Craig isn't drinking nearly as hot as the Woodford, which is interesting because the Elijah Craig, a little bit lighter, has a little bit more oak to it, but the palate on the Woodford is certainly a little bit more complex. Lots of fudge, raisin, honey, toffee. Kind of like if any of you belong to Costco, the Costco sells the best brownie mix that's ever existed. It's sold like Ghirardelli, and it has like 7 kinds of chocolate. This reminds me of the batter when you're making it before it goes in the oven. It's just pure cocoa, just all day long. There's no banana. That brown formant banana yeast note is completely absent. Man. It's pretty good. I think I would give the nod to the Woodford. The Woodford drinks really hot. I really wish they did a barrel proof offering of this just to see if that one drinks viciously hot or if this is something to do with the oak and the proof, but that's pretty nice. I think going back to the Elijah Craig, yeah, the Elijah has a lot more oak on the nose. Yeah, a lot more oak on the nose, way more oak on the palate. Just super, super oaky, dry, pepper, like a tobacco, and it kind of sits on the back of your tongue, the back of your palate, which is, I think, what's going to hurt it. Now, one thing to be said, this is the first release. I think that they have a little work. I think they'll hone this in. I can't imagine, much like Michter's, that this will be the last time we see something like this from them. I hope they keep it up. I'm looking forward to getting through more of it. But yeah, I'm going to stick with my sideways thumb. I think that if it hits near you, I have no idea what the price on this is going to be. I think it's going to be limited too. If you really like oak, maybe chase it down. I think maybe split a bottle with your pals. If it's like $30, yeah, buy it. But if it's 50, 60, 70, I'd be a little cautious, at least for me personally. Comparing with Woodford, I think I like the Woodford better, but the Woodford is much hotter. There's no contest to that whatsoever. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. I don't know if you all are sticking with your original drams of the night. We'll work through. I got 3 more bottles here, so we'll kind of plot along. I'll do some of the small batch. I'm curious too because I really liked when the 12 lost its age statement, and I know that you're not supposed to say that as a whiskey person because you're supposed to hate and super fucking hate when age statements go away. But I think that sometimes it's a good thing. I think that Elijah Craig 12 was too oaky for as young as it was, which is kind of concerning. I thought that was, hey, welcome, Peter. Good to see you. That is my good friend, Peter. He makes the best floors around, or so I'm told. This is for those of you that are just joining me, this is the Elijah Craig small batch. So we'll compare this to, I'm really curious to see the oak content of this as opposed to the double oaked kind of offerings of the toasted barrel. Let me see if I can't pull up some comments here. Let's see. Nope, that is not what I wanted. But yes, this is 94 proof. This is no age statement. We have heard rumblings that it's around the 7 to 8 mark, which I think is very fair. I know some that are a little bit older. I know some that are a bit younger. Let's see. There we go. We'll save you. Yeah, nice pick. C19, 919, C919. I call it C19 because that's how it sticks in my brain. That was the best Elijah Craig barrel proof I've had, probably since the old bottlings. Like batch 3 was phenomenal, batch 6 was phenomenal. Batch 4, I think that was the hazmat, was just insane. I even liked batch 11, the 139.4, I think it was good. So this is the no age statement version. But yeah, I really hope. I've seen that B520 is hit. I've seen that. I think it's A120 is hit here too. I haven't bought those and tested them yet. Hey, Mark. Elijah Craig. Oh, it was perfect. Okay. Well, I thought that we were friends, but apparently not. And I'm kidding. But I did not like Elijah Craig. I'm glad that you got a good trade. I bet you got a lot of Elijah Craig for Weller. Since that was what, $28, $20, $30? That was a long time ago. That was a couple addresses ago for me. Oh, great question for Peters. A bottle from 2008, 2010, the Double Trouble. I want to say that was the precursor, but I would have to look. So I'll make a note to find out for you. I don't know for sure, but let's write this down. I think it's good to admit you don't know stuff. Woodford Double Trouble. I want to say that it was, but I'm not 100%. I know that Woodford has done a ton of like really strange one-off releases. They either stick around or they don't. Especially with the doubles, they like to stack their doubles. The double. In fact, I'm waiting for a double anything, but we haven't quite gotten it. Giving this a taste. This is the standard. I would assume that they picked a pretty good batch to send out. This came in the media kit, so if you don't like that they sent me free stuff, ignore what I say about this one, because this one came alongside the Elijah Craig. They sent a bunch of wood too, which was actually kind of fun. They sent part of a barrel that was toasted, part of a barrel that was charred, and then their final toast process, which looked very uncharred, which is kind of cool. Yeah, see, this nose has a lot more fruit. It has a lot more kind of a caramel, like a light nutter butter character, more Heaven Hilly to me than the toasted oak. Honestly, this guy drinks pretty hot too. Woo. Now, I will admit, this is the first time I open this, so it probably does need some airtime. This is very clearly on the hotter side of 94 proof, at least to my palate. But lots of nice character, lots of caramel, a little bit of slivered almond toffee, some light fruit, like a hint of a mango, not like citrus, but kind of one of those savory or more tropical fruits, not coconutty, but mango, a little bit of pear, a little bit of apple, perhaps. Go for a palate cleanse after that. But all of these drink fairly hot, which is interesting. I would say that's probably a sign of youth. I think it's more a function of the Elijah Craig's not being open as long as they could be. So let this guy sit as well. But I prefer the nose on the standard Elijah Craig. I think if you're trying to do a barrel pick and you can get in, that's definitely the barrel pick to do. I think they're fun. You'll never get one at barrel proof, but for 94 proof, and these come at like, I want to say you can buy a full bottle of this for like $24 here in Wisconsin, which is kind of crazy. Nutter butter. I thought it was like a fake Jiffy icing, but I'm no nutter butter enthusiast. I know that the crackers are kind of peanut buttery. I could see it being like a fluff, like a brown fluff kind of component, but it is sweet. It comes through. It's not like dense peanut, kind of like Beam products are. Like Knob Creek sometimes has just like like an unmistakable peanut brittle note that just screams peanuts all night long. Yeah, a little bit, like a little bit of I wouldn't say it's cocoa forward. The toasted are very, very much more in the kind of the cocoa Oreo cookie kind of direction, that brownie batter. Oh, that's fluffernutter. Thank you for clearing that up. Fluffer Man, I've had a couple of fluffernutters in my day, and I don't know how my body handled it when I was like 10 or 11, and I need a fluffernutter sandwich for lunch and not go into a diabetic coma like I probably would today. That's a good point. I could see like a blend of marshmallow, a blend of peanut with some light fruitiness. Honestly, that's pretty good. This It's even helping to open it up a little bit now, giving it a swish. For these are $24. It's kind of crazy how good. It's the same price point as Buffalo Trace. I routinely buy these over Buffalo Trace, whether they're whether it is a pour, whether it's a pick or whether it's just a standard bottle. Yeah, I'm with you, Aaron. I think my blood sugar actually went like up just a little bit, just kind of thinking about it. It's been like all my buddies and I would like get together and eat like a huge fluffernutter sandwich and then go play football in the yard or like go swim, which is I think the last thing you should probably do after a fluffernutter sandwich. That's what it tastes like. I think that is a great descriptor, and I think that is something that will stick in my mind because that's crazy. That's a really great note. So, in recap, if you're just joining us, I kicked off with the 1792 bottled and bond, just kind of a warm up. Moved on to the Elijah Craig toasted barrel, which is fun. Compared a little bit to the Woodford double oak, and just open some of the Elijah Craig here. So a little bit of spread. I'm giving them some air. I'll kind of keep going through and tasting them side by side. My hope is that we can let the two double oak breathe a little bit because they're so oaky. It's actually kind of interesting. Like everything kind of tastes a little bit more like oak. I think it was Saturday night that I had a couple pours of the toasted barrel, and I woke up the next day and was like, oh, that's interesting. I brushed my teeth twice and I still taste oak, which I think is some people's jam. I think that some people are super into that. It was weird eating eggs and like having them taste like oak. It was weird having a Diet Coke at like noon and having it taste like oak, but I'm really sensitive to tannins. So I think that might be a me thing. It's not you, Evan Hill, it's me. But great point from Aaron. Yeah, EC is always available. Elijah Craig is EC. Those are always great. Honestly, I really like the Jim Beam repeal batch, especially for what is it, $16? I really like Knob Creek Standard if you just need something easy. Old Tub I just picked up. I've been starting to get into that. That's $20. I know that's technically limited. I think they limited it to like 100,000 cases. I think that'll be around. But some of those bottles punch really well. Old Grandad Bottled and Bond is another big favorite to me. Buffalo Trace, though, I am lucky. I can get it here. It's about $23 any day, pick or not pick. So I go between Buffalo Trace and Elijah Craig, but I do certainly have tons of bottles, like even 1792 small batches is around there. The Beam single barrels that are not barrel proof are pretty good price. The repeal batch though is crazy. It punches so well compared to the price tag, and people just leave it around. I think that Old Tub might be what they were trying to get out of the repeal batch, or maybe they wanted to sit around. But the Old Tub is drinking really nicely for $19, $20. It's 50% ABV. I think it's non-filtered. I'd buy that all day. I think that's the go-to if you don't want to go up to that next bracket of like Wild Turkey 101 and some of the Knob Creeks and stuff. Great question from Sandman. So I think right now I do have several hundred bottles across all spirits. So I have a lot of gin. I have a lot of mezcal. I actually have a lot of whiskey too. I have a lot of rum. I can only think of 2 or 3 bottles that are sealed, and they're backups to like selections I've done where I bought 3 of them just to make sure I had them. And since I have one open, it's sealed. I know that I do have a mezcal produced by Acalano Garcia. He unfortunately passed away very, very unexpectedly recently. So I grabbed, an extra 2 of stuff of his just because he can't make anymore. So I think the only bourbon I have that's still sealed is probably Wild Turkey Decades Cornerstone, or not Decades, Masters Keep Cornerstone Rye. And that's just because it came in this week and I haven't had time to open it yet. So, but I think yeah, it's in the triple digits, and there's only a couple that haven't been opened yet, and they're usually backups. So I figured that it does nobody any good to really look at it. So you may as well open it up, may as well taste it, like we're doing now. Yeah, great. Yeah, that's why like people ask me what bourbon to pair with a cigar, and I think that you can have a cigar or have bourbon, but one of them will lose in that palate fight, and the cigar always wins. I used to really enjoy smoking cigars, but you know, you kind of you smell like a cigar for a while. I loved the taste. I didn't love that it hung with me as much as it did, and I had a really difficult time cleansing my palate like the following day or the following night, and that made it really difficult to focus on something I enjoy a lot more, which is tasting whiskey. So cigars are great. I'll share them with a buddy. Sometimes I have friends come into town, or I get a really nice one like Padron 1963, or even the 1926s are fucking fantastic. But I can't tell you the last time I had a cigar, because 2 days later I still am like, yep, that tasted like cigar. The Old Tub's a great purchase. I think wow, dedication. $20, so a case is probably $130 out the door. Great whiskey as far as I'm concerned, especially since it tastes like $20 whiskey. I think it punches well above that. Yeah, it's too hard for me to hold on to stuff. Like even stuff comes in the mail and I just got to know what it tastes like. It's too hard to, there's no point, at least for me, to just let it sit, because I'm either going to open it later or I'm going to open it now. So I may as well open it now and taste it out. Yeah, this is a great question from Aaron. So a lot of people have different opinions. I think it's super silly to open a bottle, take out the first pour, and then make your judgment. I see a lot of people do that on the internet, and I think it's silly. I don't think it's wrong. I think that if that's how you want to do it, some people are like, oh, I'm just too busy to get to the rest of the bottle, which is fine. Doesn't really make sense to me, but it's totally fine. The point that I like to make is like, your palate's different every day. Like I tasted the Toasted Barrel, I tasted this guy on Friday when it came, and it was hot, it was oaky. But I'd had kind of a spicy lunch, so I thought, okay, maybe it's that. Tasted on Saturday, liked it a lot more. Had a second pour Saturday night, wasn't my favorite. Your palate's always changing based on what you eat, based on what you feel like. So I really like to get like 3 to 5 tastings. And me personally, I do rotational tasting, where if I get a sample or a bottle, I taste it at least 3 times. And sometimes it's the first pour of the night, sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's the end. And I take those feelings and combine them into a single review. I think that's the best way to get a representative feel. Because if I just picked up one of these guys, if I had this first pour of this Elijah Craig, I'd be like, man, this is terrible. It's super hot. Like it's fragrant and fruity, but man, it's super hot. But in a week, a couple drinks later, it might open up really nicely, like the Toasted Barrel is doing. Like it's opened up well. This Woodford Double Oak is doing really nicely after a month or 2 of being open. So, I don't have people breathing down my neck. I don't feel the need to get a review out the day something comes in. So I like to give it time. Yeah, bottles totally taste different. Whether it's something you ate, whether it's something you drank, whether you didn't get enough sleep, whether I'm angry. Some days I have a really rough day at work, and then everything tastes bad. I go grab like a Miller Lite and just watch some TV. Like there's no point to, if it's not tasting great, just pick up something else, or, take the night off from drinking. Yeah. Good point from Auditor too. He likes the 50% mark. Whenever I can, if I own the bottle and I'm not in a hurry, I'll wait till it gets to the bottom. I think it's fun to take notes. I've written a system here. I take notes as the bottle goes along. If you get a 2-ounce sample, you can only do that so much, but I can guarantee that you probably won't see a review for the 1792 bottle and bond until it's sort of the middle or the bottom, which is really good. Yeah, man, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice in the Elijah Craig. That's some good stuff. Yeah, and I think it depends too. Like the people who do spirits competitions, that they have incredible palates, like their ability to taste hundreds of things. And I know that they do them several times over several days. So I think that there is, you know, tasting for medals and tasting for competition is very different than sitting around and really focusing on a bottle. So that's a really good distinction to make. But yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of people buy a bottle, first pour, oh man, I hate it. 2 out of 10, throw it in the cabinet. Like, I don't think that's such a good way to do it. I think that it's like I'm doing now. Cleanse your palate. Like, if you don't like it, all right, put it away, come back to it, whether it's 2 times, 10 times, 20 times. Some bottles, like I used to only write a review if it was the final pour, which is cool. But then like sometimes it took me like 2.5 years to like get around to a review of something. And like if we've picked a bottle, that doesn't help anybody. And sometimes I know by halfway, I'm like, all right, I have figured this out. Like I have a couple bottles that I still can't figure out. I have some like weird Scotch single caps. Like every time I drink them, I have no idea what to expect. So like those guys will wait to the end. But after time, you really get to know your own palate, which I think is super important. Let me do a little housekeeping here. Yeah, well, let's see. We have Elijah Craig. I'm starting to lose control of my Glencairns here. Okay, all right, figured it out. So another product I kind of picked out. It's not a toasted barrel, but it is a double oak. And since we haven't had anything from Beam pop up, I recently grabbed a Jim Beam double oak because I hadn't had it, and also it was inexpensive. So a little bit. This is a fresh crack. I just got it today. So, we won't super judge this, but I thought it'd be interesting to go for some oakier products, which is something I don't typically do. Yeah. Little Book 4 is hot for sure. I haven't had much of it. I don't think it's going to be quite as good as 3. Obviously, the components are a bit different, but I would hope that it opens up too. I'm right there with you on that one. Let's see. I'm like one glass. We're gonna have to get creative here. And sorry for my webcam. There we go. Cool. Let's see. There we go. Cool. So let's see. This is the double oak. So it is a non-age statement bourbon that is then aged a second time for no descriptive age. So we know it's double oaked. We don't know how long. It is at 43% ABV, like most things in the Beam catalog that aren't white label. So totally fine. I think 43 is fine. Not great. Totally fine. You'll notice, you probably can't see it here, but they do something that the Heaven Hill, oh, that's going to be tough to see. It says that it is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished in oak. So a little more descriptive on the label. I don't know that really matters that much. I think people know pretty quickly what it is or isn't. But we'll give this a swirl. This is definitely much younger. It's oaky though. It's interesting that second finishing always has so much impact, for better or for worse. This is from a Great Lakes Distillery, Glencairn. If you're ever in Milwaukee, give them a check out. Their Kinnikinnick is interesting. They have some new stuff that's pretty cool too, but forget about the whiskey. Buy the gin. I think their gin is awesome. Yeah, this is more of a caramel toffee. The oak is really restrained on the nose, I think is important to note. Whew. Okay. A lot of cinnamon, a lot of praline, a lot of oak caramel. The oak here is interesting. It's a much younger oak. Less tobacco, less raisin, less prune, less date fruit. More pepper, more like a green young kind of sapling wood. Certainly not bad. It drinks really nicely for 43%. I'm gonna have to start blinding this to people. This is kind of a fun pour that I haven't experienced in a long time. Oh, interesting. This has no peanut butter whatsoever, which kind of surprised me. I thought that the Beam might have lots of peanut butter, but that almost a light banana, light fudge, light caramel. That's for 43%. This I might take back what I said about repeal badge and recommend this as kind of a sleeper. This would be really good in an old fashion or maybe a Manhattan. I guess Belvedere is typically rye. This would stand up really nicely to bitters, is what I'm thinking. A lot of younger bourbons don't do well in a bitters forward cocktail because they just don't have any backbone, but that has some nice structure to it. That's a nice structure. That surprises me. That was $20. So $20. I should pit the $20 beams against old tubs sometime. I think that'd be interesting. Great point. Yeah, the copper, for those of you that don't know or just joining us, C&K in this case is short for Copper and Kings, not Castle and Key, which is a facility built in the old Taylor Castle in Kentucky. Copper and Kings is also in Kentucky, but they do brandy, they do gins, they do some fun stuff. Really, American brandy is their bread and butter. Butchertown is fantastic. It's probably the brandy I used to convert my bourbon friends to brandy snobs like right away. But yeah, the every time I taste that bottle, it's totally different. For those of you who don't know, this is a pear brandy that was selected by Off Premise just outside of Chicago, northern Chicago, I think it is. It's certainly not bad. It's just it's one of those things that tastes different every time I have it. And some days I think it's great, and some days I just want to dump it out. And every time I come back to it, it's totally different. It's super wild. But yeah, peanut and bean products is not surprising. Knob Creek has it. Booker's has it. Even a lot of the normal bean products like Bean Black, I get it pretty consistently. Some of the single barrels, like they did a weird PX sherry finished bourbon that tasted like peanuts and jam. It tastes like peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which was cool. It was novelty. I think it was at 42 or 43%. So it was kind of thin. This double oak drink's better than that did, at least in terms of like structure and complexity and mouthfeel. Man, this might be surprising. Coming back, comparing it. The toasted, I get a little more graham cracker after some time, but still super oaky. So I think we'll let the oaky boys kind of hang out. This I might take this double oak over the Elijah Craig small batch based on kind of my mood or what I was feeling. That's yummy. Maybe I'm just feeling dessert tonight, but this tastes very desserty. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Man, I have heard Peter's talking about Dramfork. I've heard so much about Dramfork, and I've tried 0 of their products. So I'll have to hunt some of those down. I don't think that we see them here in Milwaukee yet, but we're itching for a vacation, so maybe we'll take a road trip. That and your favorite gin. Well, I think we can only guess what that would be, right? Yeah, Peter's a gin guy. He certainly knows his way around gin and maple trees. Yeah, funny quip by the editor. I don't think that it is botanist. Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely not the botanist. But yeah, so let's see. Covered ground. Toasted barrel, I think it's fine. I think that if it is available and inexpensive, this is batch 1. I think they have some work to do. I think that the oak is a bit heavy-handed. It's not super well integrated. I think that if it's cheaper than Woodford Double Reserve or Woodford Reserve Double Oak, I'm sorry, I would totally pick that up. If not, I'd probably go Woodford Reserve. One thing I have not done yet with this, which I'm super looking forward to, is making some cocktails. I think that there's a lot of cocktail opportunity here, but I didn't want to kind of pollute just drinking it neat and thinking about it and being like, yeah, this is super great, but go make cocktails with it. That's not really what it's for. The Beam Double Oak is surprising. Honestly, I'd compare the 1792 Bottled and Bond to the Double Oak, even though one of them is, about 50% more. So I guess, we're plodding along. I've been talking for a while. Cool Glass, one of my favorite societies, but I thought maybe since we're talking about oaky stuff, I'd pour out some other oaky bottles. So what could be more oaky than a 17-year bottled in bond from Wild Turkey. So this is the first time I'm talking about Wild Turkey Master's Keep. I've had a couple of pours, but nothing super crazy. If you want a 9-pound stopper, this is definitely a good one. This is a 17-year bottled in bond bourbon. So if something is rightfully going to be oaky, I have to imagine this would be much more naturally oaky, right? 17 years in a barrel will be oaky, as opposed to maturing in one barrel, finishing in a new toasted barrel. Not new as in virgin, just a fresh barrel. This should be interesting to compare, because 17 years is really quite old for bourbon. Not many bourbons sit around in a barrel for that long. Obviously, Pappy 20, Van Winkle 23, Evan Williams 23, some of the Ritz, but those were rye. Rittenhouse rye 20, 22, 21, 25, I think. Yes, wow, indeed. I wasn't going to buy one of these, and then I had a moment of weakness, and now clearly you can see that I was weak and I bought one. This 17-year bottled in bond is very interesting, which means that it came from a bonded warehouse in a single distilling season. Yes, if I had any orphan barrel, I would totally bring those up. Those are super oaky. Those are crazy tannic. And honestly, I can't think, they haven't released an orphan barrel in quite some time. I know the last one was technically a Scotch, I believe, or it was a grain whiskey. But we've been without a gifted horse or an orphan barrel or a lost prophet for quite some time now. Oh, same, man. So you're talking about the bottled in bond, I presume. That's a good point. Maybe they found all the orphan barrels. I'm certain they weren't orphaned to begin with, but I think we all kind of knew that. Wow. For 17 years, this is oddly fruity. It's like I thought it'd be fun. Like, everyone's been clickbaiting Master's Keep, so I thought it'd be fun to just kind of pull it out at the end and talk about it. I'll do a flight some night. I've got the Revival Decades Cornerstone bottled in bond here. Probably when John stops relaxing too much and comes back from vacation, I think he and I will drink some together, because he's back next week and then I go on vacation. So it'll be fun for August. But yeah, lots of passion fruit. And it's important too, like right now, like it's allergy season for some people. Like, if you give it each of your nostrils, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, this is really fruity, kind of like a Laffy Taffy, not fruity in the juicy fruit way. It's not fruity young. It's not musty. It's certainly different than the double oak. There's no cocoa here, which is really interesting. I expected a lot of cocoa, a lot of marshmallow, a lot of vanilla. All right. So this has that mouthfeel. This has a mouthfeel I was hoping out of the double oak, out of the toasted barrel. Honestly, though, this drink's screaming hot as well for 50% ABV. This drink's quite a bit hotter than I'd like, but the flavor's there. It has some backing character. Really interesting. Like a nice toffee. Honestly, blind, I probably wouldn't know that this was as turkey forward as some other Master's Keeps or some of the Russell's barrels. Very light on that orange peel marmalade note that I get in turkey. Very light on the pepper. This is bright. It's fruity. It's effervescent. Lightly musty. Musty in a good way. A lot of craft stuff is musty in a kind of a repulsive, lactic, cardboardy way. This is musty in like an old books, old wood, old tobacco. It's pretty nice. A lot of apple, which is surprising. I don't usually get apple. This is like apple in not Green Jolly Rancher, but it's not apple pie. It's not apple crisp, not apple pie. It's like More like an apple strudel, I guess. Really malty. I'd be curious to try this against the Eagle Rare 17. Yeah, Eagle Rare 17 here. Yeah, says 18, Eagle Rare 17. Obviously, I was going to complain that this guy's expensive, but if we're going to talk about comparing it to Eagle Rare 17 year, yeah, great point. I don't get a lot of orange peel in this, which I do definitely get. I get it in Russell's all day long. I get it in Rare Breed. When I did the Gobble Till You Wobble in 2017 into 2018, that was like a year-long thing. That was, God, that had to have been almost 100 turkey expressions, and every Russell's was just hammering on that orange peel note, which I really like personally, especially in an old fashioned. Like, give me a little extra orange. Yeah, exactly. 1792 has a lot of these. Some of those full proofs are super complex in a really musty, delicious way. Like, one of the favorite things I love about old, dusty, like wheater bourbon, like the old Fitzgeralds or the very old Fitzes, they're musty and rich, and they're really pungent, and they sit on your palate. Like, I had an old Ezra 1984 like trolley decanter that just was so rich and so musty. And that's what I really like in these old things. That's, I think, some of the reasons I really enjoy old sherried scotch too. Like old scotch that's been aging in a really well sourced sherry barrel for a long time has a dense, musty richness, kind of a decadence, like a cocoa date fruit dessert that's super decadent, super enticing. Back to the turkey. Yeah, no orange peel, but it's nice. It's no banana bread. I'm kind of going through some of the things that I would expect from turkey, but this is, yeah, it's got some of the funk to it. I won't say it's dusty funk. I think you'd be daft to compare this to cheesy gold foil or split label, but this has nice complexity to it. I'm curious what they were doing holding onto these barrels this long too. Like, what brought them to, have all these 17-year-old barrels? Because 14,000 bottles, that's not single barrel, obviously. It's many barrels that are pretty old. I'm waiting for that 21 year turkey release, that 25-year turkey. I'll have to sell my house to buy. Yeah, I could totally see some Nelson Funk. It ends on a really nice s'mores note, like a light graham cracker, light cocoa, light marshmallow, all sugar. Really nice. So yeah, overall, I'd probably give this at least a thumbs up. I don't know that this is not perfect bourbon to me. I think it's really good though. Especially, I mean, for $200, I would hope that it is. And Wild Turkey's usually pretty good about respecting your dollar, even in the Russell's 98 2002 kind of way. They're pretty good about that. It's pretty good stuff. I look forward to tasting more of it. I look forward to comparing it to Decades and Revival. I look forward to, Cornerstone's kind of different because it's a rye, so that doesn't make super sense to compare. But I think that that's some pretty complex bourbon. It's not over oaked. That was my concern. Not over oaked at all. So yeah, that kind of wraps up the bottles that I was expecting to taste. Let's see. We'll hit Q&A for a few. I still got some bourbon to drink, so I may as well hang out with y'all. Going back, I'm really curious to kind of compare the Woodford Double Oak. Wow. After the Master's Keep, this kind of smells like pancake syrup. That is rich and musty. This reminds me, if any of you guys are rum fans, the nose on this reminds me of Papa's Pilar rum, which is totally sourced. Don't buy it. It's totally sourced, unknown provenance. But it always reminded me of a rich syrup note that I would put on pancakes as a kid, especially like chocolate chip pancakes. but in a good way. It's definitely, it's clearly, I mean, there's no additives in this. It's bourbon. It's pretty nice. Yeah, the double oak stuff, I think it has a great place in bourbon. I think that people think it might be a gimmick, and honestly, if you're a producer, you need to stand out in some way. And I think that a producer with the opportunity and certainly the finances to experiment is a really cool thing. I hope that we never see it go away. That's why we've gotten some crazy releases so far. And I'm sure at one point someone selling a single barrel of bourbon was kind of like why would you do that? It could be bad or it could be good, it could be different. And so no, we'll sell it. Enthusiasts want it. I think that was great. Yeah. Papa's Pilar is crazy dosed. Sugar for days. A great question from Sandman. Yeah, I think your wife would love Old Forester 1920. Um, Super cocoa, super chocolatey dessert. I think the Woodford Double Oak would be super great for that. I get, I would stay away from the Stag Junior and the Elijah Craig because those are like a fruity cocoa. Like they kind of taste like a cherry cordial, which probably isn't what you're looking for. But 1910 was I think too chocolatey, too oaky. But the 1920, I think is a really excellent look. Some of the 15-year Knob Creeks are just total cocoa bombs. I think that between those two, I can look too. I can query my database tonight and see what came out as like super chocolatey. But 1920, I do it. Or buy double oak. Get her a, if she wants it to be hers, get her a half bottle. Or, if you have money kicking around, buy the whole bottle. It's certainly cheaper that way. But like I have too many open bottles to have full bottles or handles of everything, unless I have to have it. Oh yeah. Peter's about to grab Smith and Cross. That is a nice, funky Jamaican rum. That is good stuff. That's also affordable. Um, I don't get chocolate as a heat note. If anything, I get tannins. I get tannins as heat more often. I get it as a rough, peppery feeling in the back of the throat, almost grating, kind of like if you have a sore throat and try and swallow. But chocolate to me comes across. It sits on the palate. It sits on your jawline. It sits on your tongue. And really is fudgy, kind of like when you lick like brownie batter off a spoon and it sticks to your tongue and you have to work to get it off. It is probably the least pretentious descriptor I can give to it. But yeah, I wouldn't confuse chocolate as heat. There's a lot of other stuff I would first, perhaps. But yeah, glad that was good advice, Sandman. The 1920 and the Woodford are like the most chocolatey things I can think of. I've had some other stuff. In fact, if y'all will bear with me, why don't we I keep all my tasting notes in a database, so I think it's kind of fun to see since we can query and do stuff like that, see what comes up as chocolate. um let's see. Yeah. The High West Rendezvous Rye Quaddy Port finish was super chocolatey. Parker's Heritage Collection 24-year bottled and bond, that doesn't surprise me. Unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to buy either of those. I get a lot of chocolate, and this is a good point. I get a lot of chocolate in the Chattanooga distillate. The Chattanooga 111, 111 proof. The Chattanooga single barrel I did with Bourboner and Breaking Bourbon and Dad's Drinking Bourbon was totally chocolate forward. And I think it's something to do with their malt. A lot of Jack Daniel's single barrel proof come through as like a really banana chocolate sundae. So hopefully she likes banana. She might like those. But yeah, that's kind of what I think in chocolate land. Let's see, took that back. But yeah, the Woodford Reserve is shockingly chocolatey. I'm gonna finish the. I don't always finish glasses of stuff because it's just too much to drink in a night. But I can't leave the Master's Keep behind. Get a glass of water. Yeah, the Master's Keep is nice. It's expensive. I don't know that it's worth 4 or 5 bottles of Knob Creek, but I will find out and let you all know. Damn, that's some good bourbon. that'll be one that has to wait for a while. I think this one will open up really nicely. But yeah, if you guys don't have any more questions, I will. It's about 9 o'clock here. I think it's a good time to wrap some stuff up. To give you some kind of news for next week, John will be back next week. We have a lot of fun stuff to go over. I won't tell you what it is yet. I think we got some planning. Come back, make sure he survives the rest of his trip. But barrels are progressing nicely. We'll have some news on barrels. If any of you are interested in helping blend an MGP blend for our bourbon, definitely drop me a line. We could use one more taster for that, I think. Oh, yeah, DJ, you always come in late, man. You're like an hour behind. Yeah, he will be joining us on stream on August 18th, I want to say. Yeah, August 18th. He and John and I will be tasting some Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit Blind, which will be super fun. You'll be proud. David, I was just drinking a little of this unannounced. I thought it'd be fun to pull out. But yeah, Russell's Reserve is going nicely. Smooth Ambler is going nicely. Knob Creek's going nicely. We'll do a Penelope MGP blend featuring some mellow corn-esque components, which I think will be cool. I thought the 17-year was good. I didn't think it was over oaked. I was concerned that it would be too oaky. I don't know that it's I think it's pretty good. I think I need some more time with it, but it was certainly good. Sorry, you guys think I'm talking to nobody. He's in the chat here. But we're talking about the Master's Keep Bottle and Bond. But to wrap it up, Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. Too oaky for me, I think. Opening up really nicely. A little too oaky. You're going to want to sit with that one. If you love oak, you can find it. It's inexpensive. Snap it up. If you don't like aggressive oak, you're going to want to leave that guy on the shelf. Just like you'd probably leave Woodford Double Oak on the shelf, anything like that. It fits very nicely into that niche of products for me. The real sleeper winner, I think, is Jim Beam Double Oak, which for $20 is pretty fantastic, actually. But I know that I'm going to sit for the rest of the night with this Wild Turkey. Yeah, mellow corn-esque. Like there is some 99% or 100% corn in the mix. So I think that'll be fun to blend because a lot of people don't blend with corn whiskey. So, drop me a line, get your entry in. But the Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit Bottle and Bond, really nice. Master's Keep, sorry. Good stuff. So thanks for joining me, everyone, tonight. John will be back next week for our regularly scheduled programming. In the meantime, you can find my work at take.review. As you guys see with my name tag, you can look for reviews every day. If you want to request something, you request them. Sign up right now. From a development note, I have refactored the way emails work. So if you sign up, you won't get a review email for every single review that goes out a day. You'll get a digest around lunchtime. So you can all, stop being bombarded by emails. On top of that, follow me on Instagram, take that review if you haven't yet, and drop me a line. I'm always open to talk, and we'll start tasting some stuff if you request it. So I appreciate you guys all dropping by. I hope you stay healthy. And in the meantime, I will see you next week with John. Good to see you, Peter. Thanks for dropping by. It's been a while since we've talked, so life is good. I hope that you guys are doing well also. And we'll wrap this guy up. So we'll talk next week, same time, same place. And John will be back and we'll drink some more whiskey.